Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video. A brand new video that comes to us after a disappointing Saturday followed by a pretty decent happier Sunday that maybe didn't reflect and make up for Saturday, but certainly made the weekend a lot easier to swallow if you catch my drift. But it's time to move on, ladies and gentlemen, as there's a midweek game upon the horizon, and unlike last week where we went to the plastic hell known as Rugby Park, we have a slightly different game upon the horizon and a slightly different opposition, as it's time once again me and thee pack our European bags and follow this football club in traditional Rangers knockout fashion. Doesn't come much harder than what's upon us as we face none other than Benfica. And if we didn't mind just hitting the pause button for a brief second, just a massive thank you as we're closing in on nearly 20 weeks of hitting 1,000 likes a video, which is absurd because there's channels out there with hundreds of thousands doesn't hit what we hit every single video. So a massive thank you from me to thee, and if you do find yourself enjoying this video or channel anytime, please consider hitting that like button or hitting that subscribe button as we're trying to reach 70k before the end of the old season. But I know that's on me to try and earn that like, so let's go ahead and get into it then, shall we? And as always, we'll start off by looking at tomorrow's dance partner, which is of course the Portuguese side, Benfica. Nearly forgot there and nearly called them Kilmarnock. But of course they aren't killing, nah, they are. Benfica, and at my current time of recording, they sit second in the old Portuguese league. And I want to talk about the run, right? Because it's really funny and really interesting how quickly football can change in such a short period of time. Because if you take the last 7 days of action, the last 2 games that Benfica's actually played, and just move it and sit it right here on the table, don't worry, we will come back to what you've got left on there, troops, is a team that has 1 loss in the last 22 games. That loss being a penalty shootout loss, by the way. That's what you're actually looking at. You have to go all the way back to early November to see this side facing a defeat, as the run they've been on has been absolutely sensational. But, as he said, there is a last 7 days in the last 2 games. So let's pick back up and retrieve that bad boy and slap it right in here, because what you have is an unbelievable end to that phenomenal run for Benfica, as they not only lost the first game again in 90 minutes for nearly 4 frickin' months, by the way, to Sporting Lisbon 2-1, but also in their most recent game of football, which I'm pretty sure you've seen on social media, you've seen other people talk about it, it's their 5-0 pumping at the hands. Porto, they got jam-tarted, if you catch my actual drift, from the worst whistle to the first whistle to the last. They were ripped to shreds in a game that the Portuguese media was absolutely shocked that the players are raging, the fans are raging, they're in absolute disbelief at what happened at the weekend. Sahan, we can relate to it in a certain type of way, but aye, they got ripped to shreds, and that is the tail of the tape so far, ladies and gentlemen. Statistically, I mean, if you look at it, they are in their worst run of the season. That's the level that we're actually going to right now. A team can lose back-to-back games, and it's an absolute crisis for Benfica. Again, Sahan, we share similarities in, but that is it. Phenomenal, incredible run that if the last 2 games weren't a part of, I'm pretty sure me and Lee would be filling our knickknacks. But you now have a side that's lost back-to-back games, and they didn't do that very often. They're very angry. The fans aren't happy. They got embarrassed in the rivalry game. What type of response are you actually going to see? Are you going to see a Benfica who, again, lost back-to-back games? They're starting to go down. They're starting to argue. They're starting to fight on the old park. Are they going to come limping into this game and be exposed by an angry Rangers side? Or will we see a pissed off angry Benfica side looking to turn the screw and get back to winning ways? That's information I've handed it. Or it's up to you, depending on how full your glass is. Is it half full or is it half empty? Let me know in the comment section below. What I will say about this team is I hope it does affect them negatively coming into this game, as again their fans aren't happy, and hopefully that adds to the atmosphere if we can keep it tight and then let them start the game that they have been doing over the last couple of months. Keep that in, start to turn the crowd, we could see what this Benfica side really go in terms of the old ticker. But where I want to go next is what type of team that they actually are, because there'll be stuff said, again, I've said some of it, there'll be other stuff said elsewhere. They are a very, very good footballing side when it actually clicks. You're looking at a side that did finish third in their Champions League group, if you want to look at it that way, but they had, like, say, Inter Milan in their group. They drew 3 each with Inter Milan in one of the games. They had a do-or-die game versus Salzburg, as Salzburg actually had the advantage going into the last game week. All they had to get was a draw, or obviously a win at home, but Benfica away on their travels came away with a monster 3-1 win that pipped them, despite them being even on goal difference and on points as it goes to head, and that was a massive do or die game for Benfica, and that's what put them into Europa League. But where I give them a lot of credit for some of the performances and some of the individual performances, including hat-tricks in the Champions League, that's what we're actually playing at. I will say their most recent game in European football to get to this stage to play Rangers, the top of the group Rangers, I shall say, is a little bit disappointing. Where I give them a lot of credit for their fantastic 3-1 win, the do or die mentality, their most recent games in Europe have been really poor, as they required 2 penalties to overcome Toulouse at home at Benfica, and then in their away day it finished 0-0, and it was a really, really poor game where Benfica only mustered 1 shot on target, and truthfully really rode the luck in their game, as Toulouse done everything but actual score. So that's how they made it to us, ladies and gentlemen. Finished 3rd in the Champions League group, went to a playoff or knockout round, if you will, in the previous round, and they took 2 penalties to take them to where they are now. But regarding the actual side, we've actually spoke about Benfica a couple years ago. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people tuning into this video that went through the highs and unfortunate lows of the 2-2 draw and the 3-3 draw. 2 games, by the way, that I still in my heart cannot believe we threw away, as we should have won both of those games, but somehow we actually never. And you might be thinking, how does this Benfica side stack up against what we've faced in the past? Well, there is a couple players that's been there from that game that will be tomorrow, including Otamendi, the centre half, that Ryan Kent in this kit tore to absolute... Was that actually this kit? Actually, or was it the black one? Anyway, they tore him to actual shreds, and he had them dancing, and it ended up getting Otamendi sent off in the game. Now, unfortunately, we didn't have anybody quite as tricky as Ryan Kent actually fit to play tomorrow, but he's there, he's big, he's rash, and hopefully somebody can wind him up. Dessers, I'm looking at you, big man. Hopefully you can have a game. But the only other player that remains from the actual starting 11 that's going to be playing in tomorrow's game is Rafa Silva, the man that we talked on pretty heavily, being shot happy, gets it, pings it every single time, and he's the exact type of player that you didn't want to be facing in European competition, because he doesn't require much space, doesn't require much time, but if he gets even a sight a goal, he's going to have a pop, and you all know that, as we discussed that last time, and unfortunately it was proven to be done. But that's it in terms of the 11. The likes of Darwin Núñez, who scored against us, is now at Liverpool for a lot of money. You had Ramos, is now at PSG for a lot of money. You've got the Vertonghen's, the Tarats, they're all gone, ladies and gentlemen. So it is a fresh face Benfica if you look at it that way, and unfortunately they've got some talent. I forgot Grameiro's also gone to Bayer Leverkusen and just strolling the Bundesliga to destroy Bayern Munich. So we played a lot of ballers the last time we played Benfica, by the way. But again, there is ballers now once again in their places, and we're going to talk about a couple of them, because I think the likes of Di Maria will obviously... I nearly said Tia Maria there. That honest, nearly ordered the anti-Sahan for actual Christmas, but Di Maria is one name that everybody should know. Now, obviously, he's getting elder, and he's getting older, and his name's not quite what it was 5-6 years ago, but he's still a terrific player. And if you look at the goals he scored, the assists that he's did, he's still at a ridiculously high level. And I think he is one of the most underrated players in the last 10-15 years of football. But it's not him that I'm picking out. Is the key man. And it's not David Neres as well, who is, again, fantastically talented, and I'm sure will be a major pain in the you-know-what skate over the next 2 games. They are very, very good, tricky attacking wingers that can really punish you. But for me, the guy that makes them click, and I think the key man that I'm sure that Rangers has mentioned in the building is the one they need to identify and stop, is João Mario. Is, for me, he makes this team click completely, whether it's deeper in the 6th position or it's a 10 or even out wide. This guy can play anywhere, he drifts anywhere, and he just orchestrates every little thing for them. He's obviously scored big goals, he's scored a lot of goals for them and everything like that. He's a name that probably a lot of people will recognise, so it's not going to be a major shock that I'm saying that. But I see a lot of people, and I saw a lot of the press talking about Di Maria and David Neres and everything like that, Rafa Silva. But for me, it's wee Mario in the middle, that if you want to win this game, you need to stop him and you just have to limit him. And I'm pretty sure John Lundstram will be like his shadow all afternoon again, whether he's sitting a wee bit deeper or if he's coming forward. He's just a footballer if you want. When he stops his antics, he's rolling about in fawn air, which is unfortunately part of the European game these days. He is a ridiculously talented footballer, ladies and gentlemen, and for me, I have to be Bowser here, and I need to stop Mario. And lastly, regarding Benfica, they do line up in a kind of 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 type of thing. You're kind of expecting that these days. They are very interchangeable. They're front three. If it's Di Maria, if it's João Mario, if it's Silva, it's David Neres. They constantly change, constantly move into position. They'll be trying to cause headaches. They are a very good attacking side. The way they play football, the way they zip it about, it will be something to watch tomorrow if they get up to full flight. But you're hearing a lot about the attack, and rightly so in my opinion, because we're talking about Di Maria, Di Neres and all that. They didn't come back, troops. Their fullbacks didn't really go back either, troops, especially at home. This is a team that piles everybody forward because they want to be close to do nice little 1-2s. They want to be doing this, they want to be doing overlaps. This is a very, very aggressive side that piles everybody forward, and their wingers will not track back, and again their fullbacks, I'm pretty sure one of them, at least one of them, is going to get booked just because how far they go forward. They leave their two centre backs very, very exposed and a ridiculous high line, something again we are pretty familiar with. And it is funny to look at because I do see a lot of similarities in how they play. Like, you know, at Ibrox, apart from the Muller game, let's forget about that for a second, but when we're playing a team and we're just bombing everybody forward, and they've got it, and Suter and Goldie's sitting there by themselves and they've got to do everything defensively, well, that's what we're facing today. We know the vulnerabilities, we know how they do it because we usually do it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Phil tries to counteract that, as that's something he became known for as an actual manager. These European days, these big games, tweaking and changing it for the opposition. Well, he's almost got to play himself over the last couple of months, so hopefully he'll be able to counter it. And again, there should be a lot of spaces to counter attack. Again, if we can keep it tight, didn't get pulled away in or out of position with how much they interchange. If we stick to the task, limit what they can do, there should be a hell of a lot of counter-attacking opportunities for us to go behind. It's just unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't quite have all the pacey players or all the attacking creative players we would want for this game that would be perfect for this game. But football can be cruel, and I think if you look at our injury list, that certainly suggests that. By very good side, can't say too much about them. They do play some breathtaking attacking football, and if it clicks, it could be a rough day. But if we can just have another European night, the counter is on all damn day. And I think with that being said, we can move away for the Benfica side and get to the actual Rangers end, because the team talk should be pretty damn simple. It needs to be a hell of a lot better than it was versus Motherwell. That should be the minimum aim going in to actually this one. And as I said, it was very, very disappointing, because we talk about Benfica's bump in the road, how poor they've been in the last two games. The weekend was a massive bump. Now again, that blow was softened because of a certain Lauren Shanklin continuing to do his thing, and I do owe an apology to the Rangers board and the Rangers scout and the Rangers director of football, because I couldn't compute, I couldn't understand why we didn't go and sign Lauren Shanklin in January to fire us to a league title. The goal scorer, the instincts, everything that he's got about him, I couldn't understand it. But now, looking at that and seeing that man go ahead and score against Celtic again and take points off Celtic again to help us when we slip up, that's next level 4D chess for Big Hop and Phil Clement, ladies and gentlemen. Keep them there to hurt them, to protect us when we slip up. Apologies, I wasn't familiar with your game. Now obviously, all joking in that aside, we got away with one at the weekend, but that's alright, troops. That's going to happen. The bumps will happen in a season. You get one get out of free jail card. We've now used it. It's time to get back to doing what we've been doing under Phil Clement, and that's playing good football and winning games. Now obviously the level is drastically different going in to tomorrow's game versus Benfica. It is the latter stages. You're in knockout European football now. It's just a different level. Some people can handle it, some people Clearly can't. On paper, we just got beat off Motherwell, so it should be done and dusted versus Benfica. But this is Rangers Football Club, ladies and gentlemen, and it genuinely wouldn't surprise me, and I'm sure it wouldn't surprise a lot of people watching, if we turn up and get a result tomorrow, no matter what type of result it ends up being. A win would be unbelievable, but even a draw would be a good result, especially with how tough it's going to be. Even with our 11, our starting 11, our best 11, it would be a tough game. But we know where we are in terms of injuries and people know being registered. We're still dealing with the mess that Beale left behind. We were only able to add a couple. We've done that, but we're still missing glaring people you would want in there. And then, again, the injuries are hurting. The likes of Oscar Cortes, who's also injured, but also not registered. That's a dirty double in terms of pain in the actual ticker. And then you've got the likes of Ross McCausland. What's going to happen with that laddie? Now, full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not actually reacting to the press conference today from Phil Clement. I'm not sure on the injury update regarding young Ross because my flight to Portugal literally leaves in a couple of hours, so I'm having to get this video up and ready to go before I'm hopefully flying and enjoying another beautiful away day. So if there is any major updates, scroll down to the comment section. I will pin it and give you an update on. But that doesn't change the conversation, because even if a Ross McCausland was able to recover from that game, we are missing some key pieces that would be vital versus the likes of Benfica. But it's not all doom and gloom, because I look at the likes of Fabio Silva and seeing him out on the left, it wasn't necessarily great versus Motherwell. Won a penalty, created several opportunities. This is the type of game I would love to see him start out wide with Dessers, not Silva or Dessers and doing this and this on the side. I would love to see Silva and Dessers, because they are at home. They are just going to go for it, go for it, go for it. The gaps that will be there is hard to explain, and Silva's obviously got extra motivation being a former Porto lad, so there is that bite. But his game, for me, he's not an out and out number 9. He's better when he gets more touches, and on that left hand side where there's glaring holes right now in terms of fitness, I would love to see both Silva and Dessers gone, because on paper the attributes are very similar to what's punished them over not only the last 2 games, but in the losses and the goals they've conceded. They do get beat by tricky sort of type players, and you've got 2 of them right there, so hopefully we see both of them starting tomorrow. But again, because how risky that would be, and now Roof's obviously there to go, but do you use Roof now then lose him for the season, or do you continue to build him actually back? There is other options we could possibly do. I mean, we live in a world where we could see Barisic at left back and Ridvan at left wing, while seeing Tavernier at right back and Sterling. That's 4 fullbacks on the park at once, but that's where we are. That's what we've got available. And again, if Big Phil thinks that's the best way for us to get a result, to maybe hang in there then spring on the counter, then so be it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you can't win the tie in the first leg of a 2-leg knockout, but you could certainly lose it, and going out there keeping it tight to take back to the fortress that is Ibrox on European nights has to be the goal. So there's certainly options and chances there for us, but it just depends on how brave we're actually going to be with the starting 11, or what Phil thinks we need for that. And again, I trust Phil over than anybody. So if it's four fullbacks, it's 4 fullbacks. If it's Silva, Dessers, then Sterling, or someone else out on the right, so be it, and good luck. But that's what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. And again, any fresh injury updates I will let you know down in the comment section. Well, the last little conversation point in terms of Rangers is going to be both Connor Goldson and John Souttar. I'm obviously very critical of him, and I feel rightly so. I don't regret saying anything I said on Saturday. That's how I feel regarding the 2 partnerships. But believe it or not, despite how frustrated I was, actually, if you look at this game, and stay with me for a few seconds because it's going to sound ridiculous, the way that Benfica play on the deck, trying to play through spaces, trying to run beyond centre halves on the actual deck with the ball, this game versus Benfica is more suited to their play style than the likes of Motherwell. Now, that's probably a problem for in terms of our building and scouting over the years, that weren't built perfectly for our domestic league, but their ball playing, their quickness in a way on the actual grunt is certainly more suited as Benfica isn't the side. It's going to be whipping long balls constantly, long balls into the mixer, Lixon right in there. That's no their type of game at all. So they could have a game tomorrow, and I certainly hope that they're actually going to be, and I'll certainly get behind them, as there is no Balogun actually registered. That's who we have available, Souttar and Goldie, and we really need them to have a game. And that's truthfully all I've really got to say about the game tomorrow. I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are, how you're feeling, how do you think this team is looking, what would you do with the mess that we are currently in terms of injuries? Do you maybe go Silva, Lawrence and Dessers as your front, as Lawrence spent a lot of time, of course, out in the left wing at his time at Derby. Cantwell, who's back soon, he says it might be too soon for tomorrow, but he's played a lot off the left. Do you start mixing and changing it like that? I'd love to know what your feelings are, and obviously your prediction down there in the comment section below. For me, any type of result is a good result in this one, and I'm actually going to predict Benfica 1, Rangers 1. Just hope we can hang in there, keep it to Ibrox, and then do what we do. What about you? Let me know down there in the comment section below, and as always, I've been Siege92. Thank you so much for watching, all the best, and bye-bye.